Every January we hear the same phrase, new year, new me. New body, new habits, new routines, new personality. But the way most people approach New Year is actually holding them back from reaching the goals they set. And I'm not talking about the people who make New Year's resolutions then fall off 3 weeks in. I'm talking about the people who rebrand their life every year to try and become a completely different person every time January hits. As a Christian gym girly, for me, New Year's isn't about becoming someone completely brand new, because in Christ we're already made new. The goal of each new year after that isn't to rebrand your entire life, it's to refine your routines and habits to help you become the best version of yourself, which for me is the version of me who's most like Jesus. You can apply what I'm going to share with you in this video whether you're Christian or not, because 2026 isn't just about setting goals, it's about pinning down the red flags that are going to stop us from getting where we're trying to go, so we can work on those with intention instead of judging ourselves and then never changing a thing. Oh yeah, and if you think you don't have red flags or anything to improve on in any area of your life, then girl, you better humble yourself before God humbles you. But how do you figure out what you need to work on first? You might have had a couple of things pop into your head right now, or you might need a minute to think about it, and that is totally okay. But growth isn't proven in our motivated moments, it's revealed through our default ones. And a lot of the time, our default reactions are the red flags that we don't even realize we have, because they just sort of happen until someone points them out, or we build the self-awareness to figure them out for ourselves. By the way, if my voice sounds a bit weird in this video, it's because I had a cold last week, so I'm still sort of blocked up, and I'm trying my hardest to breathe throughout all of this. So apologies for that, you probably didn't notice, but now you know, so you probably notice for the rest of the video. Kind of outed myself there, but I've got to be real with you guys, you know? And if I didn't tell you, then it would bug me more, so there you go. At the start of each year, I like to choose a word to focus on. It might change throughout the rest of the year, but we're starting off 2026 with the word intentional. We want to be working towards our goals this year, being intentional with our time, our resources, our habits, our friendships, so they can help us keep moving in the right direction rather than hurting our progress. But it wouldn't be a New Year's video without setting some goals, so let's set some goals together. But not just vague resolutions, we set SMART goals over here. You might have heard of the term SMART goals before, and it actually stands for, and get this right, a goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We're going to dive into how to choose the right goals to focus on in a second, but just to briefly overview SMART goals. Starting with S, specific means you need to clearly define what you want to achieve, who is involved, where it will happen, and why it's important. So we want to avoid being super general with this. M means measurable, so we want to establish a way of tracking our progress so that we know how far we are on the journey to get to the goal. A stands for achievable or attainable, and the main focus here is really just setting a goal that's within your capabilities. It still challenges you, but it's not impossible. R stands for relevant, so you want to make sure that the goal is actually relevant to you and is worth your time. And T stands for time bound, so you want to set a deadline or a sort of time frame to make sure that we're creating a little bit of urgency so we actually get the things done to get to the goal. But Sophie, I've got so many goals, I've got so many dreams, I've got so many things I want to achieve. How am I supposed to do all of it? Let me stop you right there. Before we ADHD ourselves down a rabbit hole, we're going to break this down into categories to keep things organized. But I don't just want you to sit there and watch me yap. You're going to get the most value out of this if you actually take notes and apply it to your life. This is where you're going to look in, because it is going to change the way that you reach your goals this year. You ready? We've got 4 categories, and for me, the first category is really the foundation because everything else flows from it, and that is faith. If you don't want to do faith, you can do self-improvement for this one. For now, we're only going to focus on one thing we want to improve on and one goal to set for each of the different categories, because if we overwhelm ourselves with 101 different things, it just turns into a big to-do list. So I want you to choose the top 2 so you can focus on those, complete those, and then throughout the year, you can always come back to this and just add more on. But setting it up like this really comes back to our word of the year, which is intentional, because it's going to help us be more intentional about the goals that we're choosing to focus on, and then the secondary goals we can always pick up further down the road. 3 questions I found it helpful to think about when we're narrowing down to one thing we can improve and one goal to set this year with our faith is number 1, am I actually spending time with God or just thinking about Him? 2, is prayer something I do or a conversation I live in? And number 3, does my life reflect someone who wants to know Jesus deeply? The main verse that kind of inspired those questions for me is when it says in the Bible to pray continually. I'm going to be completely honest here, but a few years ago, I would sort of forget to pray throughout the day. I'd pray in the morning, I'd read my Bible then the rest of the day, I would just be so busy and forget about it. But since then, I've really been being intentional about having conversations just here and there throughout the day with Jesus. Prayer doesn't have to be complicated. I feel like we all overcomplicate prayer quite often, and really, prayer can look so different for different people. Sometimes it looks like spending an hour in quiet with the Lord in the morning. Other times it can be just as much as a thank you. You don't need to be praying long, elaborate, or fancy prayers every time you speak to God. You can just chat to him as a friend. Because he's with you wherever you go. So wouldn't it be weird if like you were spending the day with a friend, you just didn't talk to them the whole time until this one moment where you just spieled out this whole novel and then expected them to reply? Like, what are they gonna do with that? Obviously, God is a lot more than just a friend, but he really does love it when you just chat to him throughout the day. A lot of the time, those teeny tiny little moments or snippets throughout your day can help build your relationship with God just as much as those intentional, longer quiet times that you spend with him. Personally, I think a bit of both are really important. But this year, the main thing that I want to work on is reading my Bible more intentionally before I go to bed, because I have got into a bit of a habit recently of just scrolling or working late, and I want to bring it back to Jesus like I used to do. And then the goal I'm going to set for 2026 is to read through the New Testament. I have read through the entire Bible before multiple times. When you're reading the whole Bible in a year, it's great. Like, it's great to get that overview of the scriptures, but I like taking it slower, like reading a chapter at a time to think about the things that are in there, not just breeze over it. So that is going to be my goal. I'm going to commit to that, and I'm so excited to do that. So both of those kind of lead into the bigger goal for faith, which is to look more like Jesus than I did last year. Category number 2 is health and fitness. So questions to ask yourself: do I move my body daily? Am I fueling myself with whole foods most of the time? Am I prioritizing getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, or am I scrolling till 1 a.m.? Am I honoring God with how I approach my health and fitness? The thing I want to work on this year is to stop working late into the night or scrolling and prioritize my sleep schedule. There have been studies that have shown that the consistency in your sleep schedule actually matters a lot more than we realized, as well as the total amount of sleep. So we want to aim for 7 to 9 hours, but apparently women actually need more like 9 to 10, which I doubt pretty much anyone watching this video is actually getting. If you've had 9 to 10 hours of sleep recently, please drop a comment, because hats off to you. I need to take notes out of your book. And then one of my goals for fitness specifically is to get 100 kg deadlift by the end of the year. So notice that we're using that SMART goal framework here. So I've got the time frame, which is the year, and then I can work backwards from that. So the way I'm going to get to that goal is by using progressive overload in my workouts with my Romanian deadlift variations, and then deadlifts if they're in my program as well. So I'll be progressing the weight in those movements throughout the year, and by December next year, 100 kg deadlift. That's the goal. I've set it. Category number 3 is career/purpose. For this one, God reminded me about a parable that Jesus told about using the things we're good at and our talents wisely. So I'm actually going to read it. Okay, so it's Matthew 25, verse 14 to 30. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one, he gave 5 bags of gold. To another, 2 bags. And to another, 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags gained 2 bags more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I gained another 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I've gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew you are a hard man, harvesting where you've not sown, gathering where you've not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it with interest. So whether you're in school, building a business, or just figuring life out, God has given you gifts and talents that he hasn't given the people around you. So here's a few questions to help you think about how you can use those gifts and talents in your career or your purpose. Number 1 is, am I making the most of the gifts and talents God's given me? Do I show up with integrity when no one's watching? Am I using my gifts, or am I hiding them out of fear because it feels safer? And these are pretty deep questions, so you might need to take a little minute to think about those. You might need to rewatch this video, pause it, and spend some time like journaling about all of this. The aim of this video isn't just to give you a plan how to get on with it. It's for you to genuinely take a second to think about the direction that you're going in your life so that you can create meaningful goals and ways to work towards those this year. It's also important to note that purpose isn't always about doing more. It's not always about posting everything online or building a business that's going to change the world or donating millions to charity. Often it's more about being faithful with where you're at right now than taking things one step at a time. So for me, the thing that I want to work on with my career is really growing my financial knowledge, because I know a bit, like I've grown a lot in that area this year, especially with starting my own coaching business and things like that. But I want to learn more in that area. And then my top career goal is to help 30 people achieve results on their fitness journey and become their healthiest, most confident self through one-to-one coaching. So this isn't a plug, but if you want help on your fitness journey this year and you want to help me reach my goal of helping 30 people reach their goals on their fitness journey, then you can apply for one-to-one coaching in the description. The final category is relationships. And I know this is probably a big one for a lot of people, but I feel like most of the time in all of the New Year's content, people are always telling you to lock in, go ghost, focus on you and nobody else. But that mentality is fundamentally flawed, because studies in psychology have literally shown that growth doesn't happen best in isolation. Real connection is essential for emotional regulation, accountability, and long-term change, which is why relationships aren't a distraction from growth, they are part of it. Your growth will always be reflected in your relationships as well, because people will notice the change in you. They'll notice when you start to show up differently or the gym gains start coming through. So here's a few questions to ask yourself. Number 1, am I in circles where I can build others up and they can build me up too? Number 2, am I setting boundaries or avoiding hard conversations? I know a few of us are guilty of that. And number 3, do my friendships pull me closer to God or further away? Healthy growth doesn't isolate you, it teaches you how to love better, and that is actually one of the things that we're called to do as Christians. One of the most important things that Jesus commands us to do is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And number 2 is love your neighbor as yourself, and that can be so hard sometimes. Actually, one of the harder things that the Bible calls us to do is love your enemy. And I feel like that part specifically is very countercultural to how the world lives today, because we care a lot about getting revenge on people or doing the same thing as they did to you, stuff like that. But as Christians, we're called to love our enemy. And it's just something to think about how you respond to the people in your life, whether they are aggravating you or they are getting in your face. You can't control what someone else is going to say, think, or do, but you can control how you respond. So let's choose patience this year. Let's choose grace. Let's choose love. And I know it's going to be hard and we're going to mess up. Let's be real. We're all going to mess up, me included. But if we're being intentional about the way we show up, if we're being intentional about loving the people around us, not in a weird way, just like treat someone how you want to be treated kind of way, then that's going to speak for itself. One thing that I have been working on actually for the last couple of years that I used to struggle with massively is isolating myself from friends, because I felt like I was too much or I didn't feel worthy of taking up their time. So in the past, this actually stopped me from going deeper with friends, because I wasn't spending enough time with them to allow us to grow together. Do I regret that? Yeah, I do. And that actually leads into my goal for this year, which is to nurture and nourish the friendships I have and just build those on a deeper level. Be more intentional with those friendships as well, and really honor my friends. I feel like it's also a lot harder to make good, solid friendships as an adult as well. I don't know if you're watching this, you're in your 20s, 30s maybe, and you're struggling with a similar thing. But for me, getting involved in the church community has done so much. Like, all of my closest friends are in my church and I spend time with them every single week. I go to small groups so we get to chat about the Bible together and just spend time in community and things like that. And then also we do things outside of church too. So if you're struggling to make friends at the moment, church is a really good place to start. Even if you're not Christian, like, people will welcome you into their community. Also, I don't know if many people have experienced the same thing, but if you feel like you've kind of been isolating yourself a bit from your friends, or you don't feel like you're worthy, I want you to know that that is a lie from the enemy, because God has already made you worthy. You have been chosen by Him. You are so valuable, and you are loved so much more than you will ever fully understand. Okay, also have a bonus category, and this one is kind of for any habits that you want to work on, but they don't really fit into any of the other categories. So this is miscellaneous. For For me, the one thing that I want to improve is my time management, which also comes back to being more intentional. So to make this a SMART goal so that I actually do it, because if I don't make it a SMART goal, I will not do this. By the end of the second week of January, I am going to have made a schedule or have time blocked my calendar so that I don't just work all the time, and I also schedule in some intentional rest. Because the thing with being self-employed, right, is that there's always something you can be working on. And what I struggle with most is rest. I'm gonna be honest, but it's also because I love what I do. So sometimes when I'm editing or I'm really caught up in a project, it doesn't feel like work. So it's hard to balance. So it is something that I genuinely do want to work on this year, instead of just waiting till I've done all of my to-do list and then thinking of what I need to add on to my to-do list. And then one of my bigger goals for this year that's kind of miscellaneous is to learn to drive. Technically, I can drive, just not legally, so I'm gonna get driving lessons, I'm gonna do the theory test, and learn to drive. Oh yeah, the reason that I haven't officially learned to drive already was because I was learning during COVID and then the whole world shut down, and then I went to university, so I didn't really get the opportunity. But I kind of do have the opportunity now, so as long as I can time block my way into having 2 hours free, however often I need to get driving lessons, then we should be good to go. But having that will be a very valuable skill to add to the toolkit. So once you filled all that out, it might seem like quite a lot. And previous me would have just stuck this on the wall, but then never looked at it again. And you might be guilty of a similar thing. But here's where most people get stuck. We set huge goals for the year, but then we never build the habits that are actually going to get us there. A quote that I love from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear is, "We don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems." First of all, if you've not read this book, this is not sponsored, but you should definitely get it and read it, because there is so much good stuff in here about breaking bad habits, building new habits, and it's just really valuable information. I also chat a bit more about the process of building healthy habits and breaking bad ones with some of the concepts chatted about in this book in a different video. So I'll link both of those resources so you can go check them out after this. Secondly, our habits reveal what we worship. Pay attention to this, right? What habits do you turn to when you're tired, when you're lonely, when you're feeling weak, when you're bored? Our habits can often reveal where we're truly at in a lot of different areas of life. And everyone will be at different points and in different seasons on their journeys, and will struggle with different things as well, which is completely okay. But here's something practical that you can do that actually works to help you build the healthy habits that you want to focus on this year. It's called habit stacking. Think about one thing that you already do every day that you enjoy. Your morning coffee, your dog walk, your evening tea, your skincare routine. Now pair that habit with one that you want to build. For example, reading your Bible while you drink your coffee, adding prayer to your morning walk, put on worship music while you're getting ready. As Christians, this is a really good way to help us build those holy, healthy habits. You don't need an entire new routine, you just need to invite God into the one you already have. But habit stacking is also something that James Clear talks about in his book. And even though it's not a Christian book, I do think the concept can be applied to help us build holy habits. And having done habit stacking myself, I can tell you that it works really well. Other ones that I've included in my routine are drinking a pint, not a pint, this, how much is this? A litre? Yeah, drinking a litre of water in the morning. I used to have just a pint of water, but then I realised I wasn't actually drinking enough water. So I got myself a bottle from GYMSHARK, code sophiereidfit safe. But yeah, I got myself a bottle with the markings to make sure I was rehydrating first thing in the morning. Because I always read my Bible first thing in the morning, I will now sit in the morning, I'll read my Bible, and I'll just be, that's sprayed so far. I'll just be reading my Bible in the morning and then sip on this until I'm done, and I've done my Bible study as well. So that is an example of how I've done habit stacking recently for my physical health and my spiritual health. When we're thinking about the best habits to build in the new year, it can be really helpful to find the 5 highest impact habits. So we're talking about habits that are going to have the biggest impact but the lowest time commitment. I'll share what those habits are in a second, but here's the reframe that changed everything for me. Because I know at this time of year everyone's talking about being consistent, you've got to stay disciplined, but discipline isn't about staying disciplined for discipline's sake. It's about vision. When you have a strong reason why you're doing the thing, discipline follows. If you're training to compete in a bodybuilding competition or a sporting event and you've already booked the ticket for a set date, you are gonna show up and put in the work to get there. If you've got 3 months to get certain grades so that you can get into your dream university, you are gonna work your socks off to try and get there. And if you're desperate to get closer to Jesus, you're gonna make the sacrifices necessary to make that part of your daily life. Doing the habit consistently isn't the goal, it's just a vehicle to help you get to the goal. Taking part in the competition is the goal, graduating is the goal, getting closer to Jesus is the goal, and self-discipline is just the byproduct. Now, everyone's habits are obviously going to look slightly different because we've all got different lifestyles, we've all got different goals, but here are my 5 high-impact daily habits that are going to get me closer to my goals this year. Number 1 is prayer, and not just prayer in the morning, but a continuous conversation throughout the day. I guess I'm kind of going to use habit stacking for this as well, because for me, I have been working on this already. I find it really helpful for things to remind me to pray. I just always find so much joy in seeing little birds when I'm out on a walk. And that is a reminder for me to just pray and say thank you to God for that, because His creation is so beautiful and it just always makes me smile when I'm out on a walk. So things like that just remind me to pray. They create those little sparks throughout the day, and I'm going to be more intentional about noticing the little things. I think I am pretty good at this already, but I want to make it even more of a priority this year. Habit number 2 is reading the Bible consistently. I'm great at doing this in the morning, not gonna lie, I've been doing it consistently for years now, but I really want to focus on building that habit in the evenings as well, because I want to bookend my days with the Word. I want to get back to that. Number 3 is daily movement, so either going for a walk, stretching, doing some mobility work, going to the gym. It doesn't have to be a gym session every single day. We want to recover, we want to be smart with our recovery, but getting in some movement just so that we're staying active. There's so many benefits. Number 4 is a consistent sleep schedule. So I'm going to be going to bed at a consistent time. I'm going to be waking up at a consistent time so that we've got that rhythm and we're setting ourselves up well for the day ahead. And number 5 is something I've talked about in a few of my other videos. It is the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time I'm going to be focusing on whole foods, then 20% of the time we've got those treat foods that we enjoy, and that is going to put our nutrition in a really good place to help us smash our health and fitness goals in 2026. I mean, think about it. If you just did those things consistently, then your life could look completely different at the end of the year. But I'll leave you with this. Someone who wants to honor the Lord with their life is not going to waste it. Not on distractions, not on staying comfortable, not on half in, half out kind of growth. We're called to make the most of every opportunity, so I don't know about you, but I am all in. This year is all about being intentional with our small habits. Never underestimate how much a tiny habit can compound by the end of the year. Consistency doesn't have to look like never missing a day either. It can look like 5 out of 7 days of the week. But trust me, if you keep up that rhythm throughout this entire 2026, when you look back at the end of the year, you will be amazed at how far you've come. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video valuable and you've had a lot to take away and think about. I know there was a lot of information in here, but if you need to, rewatch the video and comment the goals that you're setting this year in the comments, because I really want to know. Do it so that you keep yourself accountable, if anything. And if you want more content to help you on your fitness journey and encourage you in your faith in the new year, then make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 100k. If we've not hit it by the time this video comes out, we probably haven't. So make sure you subscribe. I'd love to have you a part of the family, and YouTube thinks that you'll find this video helpful next, so go check it out. Love you so much. I'll see you over there.